Hello and good morning. Welcome to the webcast Start Revit Projects with Ease using tools from CTC Software. I am your speaker today. My name is Drew Jarvis and I am a technical consultant at SolidCAD. I'm based in Port Moody, BC. My background is mechanical engineering, but for the last 17 years I've been assisting companies in the implementation of advanced workflows to help those companies improve productivity and keep up with new technology trends. My work takes me all across Canada, and primarily I work with architecture and engineering companies that are implementing Revit, Navisworks, or BIM 360 based technologies. Today we're going to look at how we can use the CTC tools to assist in the initial setting up of a new project in Revit. I can't remember how many projects I've set up over the years, but I can remember when I had to do everything manually rather than automating the process. Initially, this was because the template didn't have things that every project needs. But as time goes on, you get to the stage where you have a good starting point from either a starter project or a template, but you still have things that need to be set up in the project file that are unique enough that you don't save them in your template. Things like views and sheets that take up a lot of time to create and are very specific to each project, based on the number of levels in the project and the view requirements. Now, while this isn't complex work, it is repetitive and time-consuming, and I don't know many people who wouldn't want to streamline this process. Today, we're going to see how a few tools, including the View Creator, Spreadsheet Link, Import and Link Manager, and Hive can help us. So first question, what is Hive? Hive is a content management system. It's an alternative to Windows file management. Hive gives you access to search features that search more than just the name of the Revit family. Hive can index the metadata within the families and allows you to search that data and find content based on the values of the parameters within it. For example, you can search for 1050 millimeters, and any family that has a parameter set to 1050 millimeters will show up in the results. That's simply not going to happen when you're searching through the Windows file system. Now, content within Hive can be saved on the cloud, meaning that users based anywhere have access to your company standard content. Now, today's interaction with Hive is going to be to create a new project. So we'll be able to find our starter project. And what do I mean by a starter project? Well, it's a Revit project file, an RVT, but it has work sharing enabled, something that you can't have set up in a Revit template file, for example. Now, this enables me to set up company standard work sets and make sure that my links and other starting elements are on the correct work set. I can even then use those work sets for filtering my views. So these are benefits that you don't get if you use a template file, but you can if you start with a Revit project file. So in order to do that, you just have to remember, start the project by detaching, save it into a new location to become your central model. Now, once I have my project created, I can save it to that location on the server, and then the next step typically is to start creating the views. Before I can create the views, I'll need some levels, and then I can use the view types and view templates from my starter project along with those levels to start creating those views. Now, the View Creator tool is going to help me with the creation of the levels and the views, allowing me to not only create them quickly, but also to create them with accurate naming and setup. This tool isn't limited to just plan views. You're going to be able to create really helpful views like workset views. This is something I've been putting into my projects for over a decade now. They show you in a 3D view what is on each workset. It really helps you avoid modeling on the shared levels and grids workset, for example, or putting lighting on the fire safety workset. So that's important, right? If you link in models between different consultants, typically you're going to want to make sure you have a workset that has those levels and grids on so you can turn off the workset in the link. You don't want to have 5 different grid lines all on top of each other. So these little views, they help you with that kind of check. I'm going to show you the Spreadsheet Link tool as well, but with a kind of a cool implementation of its functionality. So we can use Spreadsheet Link to export data from Revit to Excel. Makes it great for non-Revit users to access the information inside of the BIM project files. It also enables us to bring that data back into Revit models once changes have been made. So those external users using Excel make changes to the data, and then the Revit user brings that data back into Revit. So for engineering workflows where calculations take place outside of Revit, and then those results of those calculations need to come back into the model, this tool is invaluable through the life cycle of the project. I'm going to use it, though, to create a whole load of sheets really quickly. I'll be able to get the tool to list the sheets in the project, then add sheets, and then copy and paste values from Excel into those sheets in order to populate the name, the number, and then even things like the custom parameters. So I'm going to have a custom shared parameter inside of there that's going to populate. Now the import and link manager is going to make a brief appearance, and it'll be there to simply repath a bunch of links rather than having to select each one and then repath it. However, this tool is very useful for keeping an eye on your project health. It enables you to search and destroy CAD imports. So I don't know how many project files, again, I've seen that have DWG files inside of them, but it's a lot, and those imports can be pretty hard to track down, especially if we import a DWG into a single view in the Revit project file. This tool has saved me a lot of time over the years identifying these files and removing them from the project. Once I've confirmed, of course, with the project team that the file is no longer in use and good to be removed. The final tool will take you from someone who was frustrated by using schedules for supplier-based content to someone who wondered why they didn't standardize their shared parameters and schedules a long time ago. So let me pose a scenario for you. You set up a schedule and perhaps you make some shared parameters to really take control of that schedule. And you use them as columns in the schedule. So everything's working great. And then you find you need to download a family from the internet and have it integrate into your schedules. So you load it into your project, you start placing it around the model, and then you take a look at the schedule and you see you can't edit the values in the cells, or the cell values are blank, or they don't seem to link to the parameters in the family. Well, the Parameter Jammer tool will help you fix those issues. What you do is you give the Parameter Jammer a working schedule and a non-compatible family, and the tool will put all of the parameters required to get that schedule to display correctly into the family. You can even map it so that existing parameters that the manufacturer made in the family are mapped over to your shared parameters, so you get the content copied over. So to do this manually is time consuming and pretty mind numbing, to be honest, because you can't manually add multiple parameters in just regular Revit, but with the Parameter Jammer we are able to do that. It will quickly become one of your favorite tools. So let's take a look at these tools in the software. So here I have Revit 2022.1. You'll notice a ribbon tab at the top here for the CTC software. Below are different panels for the different suites I have installed. So I have my BIM Batch suite, BIM Manager suite, BIM Project suite, as well as Hive. Within each of the suites, there are free tools and premium tools. So if you download and install the suite today, for 14 days you'll get access to both the free tools and the premium tools. If you choose to purchase the software, you'll keep access to both. If you choose not to purchase, you'll still have access to the free tools. So well worth downloading and installing. Now to start our project, I'm going to use Hive. So I'm going to open up the Hive interface. Once Hive is open, it's simply a case of searching for the metadata or file names that you're interested in. So in my case, I'm looking for my starter project, and I know I put the release value in each one of them. So I'm going to search for R22. And here is my starter project. I can simply just double click on it or right click and load. And the software will recognize that this is a project file that has work sharing enabled. So it's going to ask me, the default is, do I want to detach from central with preserved work sets? And that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's going to give me a temporary file that I can save as my new central file for my project. So I'm going to click open. Now that the project has opened, it has recognized that I have some issue with my linked files. So I'm going to make use of my import link manager to change all of those in one fell swoop rather than doing individual changes. So for now, I'm just going to ignore. Now this starter project has a few levels inside of it, as most starter projects will. I actually have a few reference planes inside of here. So as I pick this one, you can see this is my level 1 at 3 meters reference plane. So helpful when I'm looking to host elements up in the air. But I am missing quite a few of the levels that I'm going to need for this project. So I could manually create the levels. But what I'd like to do is look at the CTC tool for creating levels and views. So I'm going to start up the tool called the View Creator. So the View Creator opens up and has a few tabs inside of it for different things that we're going to create. So right here I've got my initial levels. I want to make a few more levels, and it's as simple as coming down and clicking Add Level here, and then placing in the name, and then placing in the elevation. Then it's just a case of placing my numbers in. Once I've got all those numbers in, I can hit create in order to change those. Now, this is also a place where we can modify the numbers. So if I got the wrong number in here and this is meant to be 5500, I can simply change that. Once I close out of the tool and pan across, you can see where it's created those levels. If I select these levels now, I like to control my levels with the scope box, and so I'm going to come into here and pick the entire site scope box. But before I do that, I will need to make sure that scope box encompasses the entire project. So drag those down and up, and then pick those. If it doesn't intersect the scope box, then obviously it's not going to be able to use it. There we go. So now, I've got all these levels, but you'll notice that I don't have any views yet. The annotation for it doesn't have the blue hyperlink on it. So in order to create the views, go back into the tools here, into the View Creator, and I'm going to take a look at the Plan Ceiling tools. Now, what it shows me are the levels in the project. It then shows me the view templates that I've created, and as well it has the phasing. So I'm going to pick all of my levels. I'm going to pick a couple of view templates. So I want the architecture, I want the furniture layout. I'm going to go with the communications and the ductwork. I'm also going to say it's on the new construction phase. Now you'll notice that there's an abbreviation column filled in here. So this is to do with the naming. Down below, it's showing me it's going to name it with no prefix, the level name, the view template name, in this case the abbreviation name, and then the phase. But for the phase, I've said no abbreviation because I don't want to see dash new construction on every single view. Now that could be helpful if I do have multiple phases that I'm creating views for, but for this instance, I've turned that off. So right now I've got 15 or so levels. I've got 4 different view templates, and so I'm going to be creating about 60 views. Before I click create views though, I'm just going to hit add, and down here it's going to show me what they're called. So level 1 dash architectural, level 1 dash comms, level 1 furniture, level 1 HVAC. Excellent. I'm going to hit create views, and you can see a little report at the end telling me it's created 52 views. Over in the project browser, we can then see the new views. So we've got our level 1 architecture through to the roof, similar for furniture, similar for electrical, mechanical, etc. Now, what if we needed dependent views? Well, right now, I don't really have anything set up for that, but what I'm going to do is bring in my links. So If I do them manually, I've got to go and click each one, say reload from, and then go and click the folder. Even though it's going to know exactly where it is, it'll require that I use that little dialog box to go and pick the file. Let's take a look at just using the import and link manager here, just to see the functionality of the batch processing. So this is a tool, as I mentioned earlier, I use this to find imports. Great way of finding those things that have been left behind inside of your file and removing them. But I can also use it to do things like repathing. So right now these are pointing to the wrong location, so I'm going to pick all of them, and I'm just going to go and reload them from a folder. And in this case the folder is here, the Revit links. Once I do that, it's going to reload all of those extras for me. So now as I close that one down, and maybe open up one of the architectural floor plans, I can see that there is a bit of a building layout inside of here. This building layout though, it's too big for a singular view to fit onto my sheets. What I'm going to need here are dependent views. Now dependent views is where it gets super manual and time consuming and crushing to have to create, right? So you have to duplicate the view multiple times, and then you need to rename each one of them, and then you go to the next view and you duplicate it as a dependent multiple times and you rename each of them. Horrible. So back into the view creator. Here you'll see we have a dependent view. Now the dependent view is going to show us the views that have been made and the scope boxes available that we can use for the boundary. So let's go make a few more scope boxes. On the view tab, I've got my scope box tool. I'm going to create one here, and I'm going to call this building area A. And I'm going to take that one, copy it across. That one's going to be building area B. Copy it down into a couple of locations here. I can take this one, rotate it 32, move it into the spot, and copy that down here. So a little bit of time, get your scope boxes set up. We've got building area A, B, C, D, E. Back into the tool. I'm going to go to my CTC Software, Premium Tools, View Creator, and click on the Dependent Views tab. And now you can see all those scope boxes available. So I could pick and choose a few of them, but yeah, what the heck, let's just make them all. So let's right click, check all. You can uncheck a few if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and make them. So I made 52 views, was it? And now I've said I'm going to make 5 dependents for each one, 250 views. How long is that going to take you to do manually? It's going to take a few minutes, right? Let's click that button and allow it to make it for us. Okay, and because I didn't uncheck the entire site, I've now actually made too many dependent views, but we made 300 dependent views there in no time at all. Let's close that down and take a look. So we can see within the level 1 architecture, we've got our building A, building B, C, D, and E. Real time saver. Look at that beautiful naming. Everything's right. No manual mistakes. Fantastic. Back into that view creator. I mentioned about the workset views. So those workset views are great for being able to track elements and make sure to run the right workset. So this isn't something that's going to be created inside of your project. Printed, I should say. It's just a view where you can go and keep an eye on things. So create those 3D views, right? So we have lots of different options up here. We can make our sheets here as well, but I'm going to show you another tool for that. Nothing wrong with the tool here. Just want to show you additional tools. In fact, let's go do that now. So I'm going to go over to the Spreadsheet Link. And what this Spreadsheet Link does is it creates Excel spreadsheets very similar but different to schedules. Now a schedule, as you know, is not a spreadsheet. It looks like a spreadsheet. People make the assumption that it is kind of like a spreadsheet, but it's not. Elements in a schedule are indicated on rows inside of them. The parameters of those elements are indicated by the columns. So it's not exactly the same as a spreadsheet. but we can use very similar functionality here, very comfortable to do that. Let's go scroll down first of all, pick a category. So I'm going to pick my sheets. And over here we start to get the available parameters. So I'm going to bring in my sheet number, my sheet name, and also this custom parameter I created called sheet classification. Now this is actually used for the organizing of the sheets inside of the project browser. So right now I have one sheet. It's the starting view sheet, and you can see it populated here. I also now though have an Excel file that I'm going to show you that has all of the sheets I want to make. Let's take a look at that Excel file. So we can see here that I've got sheet number, sheet name, and sheet classification inside of Excel. And I've got 96 different sheets that I need to create. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Then I'm going to go back into my CTC tool. And on the create drop down here, there's actually a specific tool for this. There's a create new sheets. So I'm going to create 96 new sheets. Selecting the title block and clicking create. Kind of adds in some placeholders. With those placeholders, I can then go and paste in the values that I want for them. So I've got my sheet numbers, my sheet names, and my sheet classifications. So they're going to be organized into folders here for architectural, electrical, mechanical. Once I've got that, all I need to do is apply. Now this works whether it's making sheets or if it's editing rooms or spaces. So you could export out your room data, give it off to somebody else, have them fill in information about occupancy values or usage, departments, whatever it is, and bring it back. Use this apply button here to apply back to the Revit model. We get a report at the end that indicates it has made 96 new sheets. Over in the project browser now we can see the mechanical with the names and numbers as per the Excel sheet. For my final tool that I'm going to show you today, I want to show you how we can assist with families and the parameters inside of them. So if I go into my architectural level 1, I'm just going to, at the side here, create a wall. I'm going to place a few doors inside of it. Okay, so I'll take a couple of these, change them out for different types of doors. And then when I take a look at my door schedule, we can see that we've got different types of doors available, the counts for them. So I could probably group these together, I guess. Sort them by their type mark. Group them by their type mark. There we go. And everything is good and works inside of here. You'll notice at the top here though, it's called door width, door height, door RO width, door RO height, door panel thickness. These are actually shared parameters that I've created and used inside of those families. So we'll call them our company standard shared parameters in order to make sure our door schedule works. I'm going to go and load in a new family and we'll take a look at how that integrates with this schedule. You can guess it's not going to be well. So make my wall a little bit longer here, go to the door command, I'm going to load a family. I'm simply just going to go to the door folder inside of my content library here. I'll go over residential door and let's go interior single 4 panel. Okay. I pick a couple of sizes that I want. I load them in. So as I place that door into there, I would love it if it showed up in the door schedule. As we can see here, we've got a new door. It's now a D6. And what do we have here? Well, we have a bunch of blank information. So I can go in and put that number in there. But that isn't driven by the family. This is just because I happen to have a shared parameter inside of my project. I don't really want to have to go and do that. This isn't driven by the parametrics of the family. Okay, let's undo that. I'm going to go and highlight that in the model, and I'm going to edit the family. So what we'll see inside of here is it has parameters, but not the shared parameters. So if I go to the floor plan, I've got myself a rough opening and a width parameter. So yeah, if I go back to my project, I could bring those parameters in, but they're not the ones I want in my schedule. So this isn't really, this isn't a solution. This is just showing, the data can be brought in. So I can go and find the width, and maybe there's a rough width as well here. Yeah, there we go. So I can bring those in and they will show up, but they're not the parameters I'm looking for in my schedule. And there's lots of reasons why you would create shared parameters with specific values inside of them like this. Okay. So how do I fix that? Well, let me first of all just take these out. I have my parameter jammer. If I go and find my CTC tool here, I'm going to go and load up the tool. And what the parameter jammer is looking for is the actual shared parameter file. It's looking for the schedule, and it's looking for the family that isn't working. Then I can click next. And now it's going to show me all of the different parameters. And it's going to give me the opportunity to simply just load them in. So what I'm going to do is go into the floor plan here. I'm going to take that rough width and swap it out for the RO width. Take the width, swap it out for the door width. Right? So I'm actually replacing the parameters inside of the family with the shared parameters that have been loaded into it. So there's that rough height, and the only one left was the panel thickness, which is probably in here somewhere. There we go, thickness. So any formulas that were in here that we had, we can make use of those. For example, these rough openings, well, that's going to be the same thing here. So we're going to go door height plus 50, door width, whoops, plus 50. And then it would just be a case of making sure our numbers are correct here. So 24, well, let's make sure that's now a 21. And then this one is a 2000. Everything is now good to go, nice and simple. Load that back into the project. I don't need to save it, I'm just going to overwrite it here. And now this family works with my schedule. It took me a couple of minutes to fix. And it can be changed from one to another. And you'll see my shared parameters are populating correctly. So that brings an end to the presentation for today. I hope it's given you maybe a couple of ideas of different things you can do when you set up your project, as well as showcasing some of the fantastic tools that come along with the CTC suites. Feel free to reach out to us. Here are our links that you can connect with us. Also, this is now the Q&A portion, so we'll take a look at any questions you have, and if you would like to pose any questions, please do